Hello, everybody.
Hello.
We are. I feel like I'm going into like Six, the musical. We are live. All right. We have two of us. Do not know yet if Karen is coming or not. If she shows up, yay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Supposed to be having a new member, my sister, but she has a lot going on and is unable to make it. And she's just started working with a lot of working with a political campaign specifically. So she said maybe not till after the elections. Which is understandable. Those things take up a lot of time. I was going to work tonight on my shawl that I said I would probably be working on most of the time. And then I can't find my pattern for it. And I can't just look at the pattern or reprint it because it's the whole like I've modified, well, I say shawl, it's a cardigan, and I modified a shawl pattern for a cardigan. Lisa, of course, you know this, but just for anybody watching. So I have I modified it, and I am at some points I'll have to go out further. It's possible that the stream may have just gotten interrupted. I'm not sure. Okay. But yeah, at some points I have to go out further, and from what the pattern has, because the pattern tapers, and if I made the whole shawl that way, then I mean the whole cardigan that way, then even like cutting off the corners, I would end up with it starting to taper like somewhere in the middle of my rib cage. And I don't actually want a cardigan that leaves my entire sides exposed. So I have all my modifications on there, and I can't count anything out unless I'm looking at the one with modifications. So I have to find that pattern or entirely redo it, which I don't want to do. So today, what?
That was a lot of work.
Yes, it was. Today I am going to be working on, I have a necklace here that I need to put a new clasp on really fast, and then I'm going to be working on a Tree of Life pattern. It's not, you know, terribly original. Of course, there are like 12 bajillion Tree of Life pendants, but they usually attach at the top, and I wanted to make one that has the roots kind of coming out to the sides. I think I'm going to have to modify this more for future ones, but this is my first one in experimenting with something. So. It's vaguely possible, if I either finish that or get frustrated with it, that I might switch to just playing Minecraft, because, you know, it's a form of crafting too. I'm just building stuff.
Right?
And it's that kind of a week. Just is. I need, there it is. All right. What are you working on tonight?
I am cutting ribbon because I am the biggest procrastinator ever.
Super duper definitely are not, but
I still haven't mailed out all my bracelets. So I have a big box of bracelets along with a big box of bookmarks. And I'm going to tie them together with ribbon with, is this it? Yes, it is. With my lovely cards that I have hole punched and have my shop on the back. It's a lot of work, but I'm going to put them all together so I can mail it out tomorrow. Running out of time. That's what I'm doing. I'm cutting ribbon.
Nice. I am. That's not what I wanted to click. I'm just quickly going to ensure that the direct link is available for anybody who wants it for this particular live stream. And we have read chapters 3 and 4. Oh, and I cannot stop yawning again, which makes for great video.
Right.
Do you want to do a quick recap?
Well, quick recap. No, we got time to fill here.
No. Do a quick recap, and then we go back through to actually discuss it. Do the short recap first.
So the first chapter that we read, chapter 3, was them, the older girls being invited to a party.
Which was the Lawrence boy.
Yes, the Lawrence boy. Them being invited to a party, and basically just their time at the party. And the second chapter that we read, it was called Burden, which is where they all just kind of sat for an evening after dinner with their mother, stitching, embroidering, whatever their craft that they do is, and just kind of talking about their day and telling stories, which I really enjoyed. Did I miss anything?
No, I think that's a good recap. So yeah, chapter 3. Chapter 3, we met the Lawrence boy.
It was so different than I expected. Like, I know last time we were theorizing about how we meet the Lawrence boy and what was going to happen, and we were like completely off, Karen and I. Because I think I just thought that we'd be hanging out with Joe and meet him at some point, like outside. Like that was how I imagined it.
Yeah. They officially became acquainted at a dance. And Laurie says several times, I think it's hilarious that from Theodore, the boys would call him Dora. So he made them call him Laurie instead because that sounded more masculine.
Well,
culture and time.
Used to be both ways. Like it was generic.
It was. But it's funny to me. Like he couldn't thrash them and convince them to call him Theo or Teddy or something instead.
Nope, just Laurie.
By his telling, at least, thrashed them to convince them. I'm jumping ahead a bit though, because there's the whole like getting ready for.
Right. Yeah. So Meg is very. I thought Amy was like that, the sophisticated prim proper one, because she's the youngest. But Meg really is too. Like, she's all worried about being the perfect socialite.
Yeah. They're very prim and proper in two different ways. Meg, as they point out a few times, a big part of it is that she has the best memory of when they used to have more money. Which, you know, they're poor, but they're not poor. They're essentially middle class. But I mean, there was a middle class at the time, but in many ways it was the lower class. Oh, we have a Karen.
Yay!
Yay!
Alright, guys.
Välkommen. Can I see you?
No, that's not good. There we go. How's that?
There you are.
You sound
What you
very
working on tonight?
tired. Huh?
What you working on tonight?
Oh, I'm drawing because I have literally nothing to do right now.
I have plenty to do. It's just a matter of making myself want to do anything.
Okay, yeah. It's called I have a couple hours before I have to go to work and I don't really want to do it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to fix a necklace, but I can't seem to find the correct jump rings. There's so much organizing I need to do in here, and I keep saying that and I keep not doing it.
Same. But I just started a new job this weekend and it's kicking my butt. So
Yeah. So when we had just done the recap. I'm trying to figure out where. Oh, there it is. Get my session up here. So I was going to work on jewelry, and I am just not managing to convince myself to at all. So I'm going to keep building a castle in Minecraft.
sounds like a solid plan.
Absolutely determined that that also counts as crafting. There's a lot of design that goes into it.
It does. It does.
It's far less saleable, far less usable, but very relaxing. So we were talking about that Meg is the wants to be an aristocrat type, even more than Amy. And I was saying that Meg really, she remembers when they had more money and they called themselves poor, but even though there was a middle class at the time, it was more like there was the upper class and the working class, and they're the upper class, but they're like the poor rung of the upper class. And then the working class wouldn't ever expect to have the same amenities. They wouldn't expect to have a lady who, cooks and cleans in their house. They wouldn't expect to have, invitations to parties and things. And even though they don't have the money, they still have that social standing, which means that as far as Meg's concerned, because she remembers living with the money and the social standing, she wants to be in that still. Whereas, and Jo remembers it, but she's never really cared in the first place. She cares about, she'd like to have more money, but she doesn't care about trying to meet other people's expectations in any way. So it just doesn't matter as much to her. Amy, am I getting glitchy at all from your end?
No.
Okay. My computer gets a bit glitchy when I'm starting Minecraft and have something else just for a minute until it gets itself settled in. And I didn't know if that was translating to your end or not. So Amy is, she's a kid, and she wants to be like her big sister. Wants to have she wants to act like she's older. She's got 3 older sisters, and she just wants to act like she's older too. So a lot of her snootiness and her, but I have to because, this is what everybody does and whatever, that comes not from wanting to be richer necessarily so much as from just wanting to be like her older sisters, wanting to not be the little one.
Right.
At least that's my interpretation of their characters. So, they have the whole debacle with the gloves,
Yeah,
Are
so
they
Which-
I
burnt
love how
red?
Joe's like, my dress is burned, my gloves are
I have
stained.
very mixed feelings about in a lot of ways.
I'm feeling very much like
Her
Joe
dress is burned, her
myself.
gloves are stained, her sister wants her to look perfectly proper and yet won't go without her. That's the part that boggles my mind. Because my sisters would have been like, fine, you stay home. And like, we're close. And they would have been like, don't go.
See, I
And-
hate going places without Karen. I drag Karen everywhere.
See, Mara and I, my second older sister and I, we were like that a lot. My oldest sister, the one who's hopefully going to be joining us here, mid-November or so, she is only 3 years older than me, but that's enough to make a big enough difference. We got along well enough. We didn't really get close until we were older. But my sister that's in between us, we're only a year apart, and we were always pretty inseparable. But if it came to the difference is, if I was like, well, I don't, I have stained gloves and a burn dress, if that was, a thing, or whatever the modern equivalent would be. My next older sister's the one who was more like Joe anyway, and she would have been like, so what? Who cares what you look like? Come anyway. So she would have been begging me to come for that. But if I was insistent that I couldn't go without something new and I didn't have the opportunity of getting something new, she would have been like, okay, bye then. But she didn't want to go without me either. She just, if she wanted to go that badly, she wouldn't have insisted that she wasn't going without me. That's the part that boggles my mind a little bit, especially for how desperately Meg wants everything to be prim and proper, and she's the one insisting that Joe has to have gloves, but they have to be clean gloves. But she's messed up her gloves, and wishing that they could consider more what they'll wear, even though that's not really an option for them. And she's going through all of that. But she's also like, no, but I can't go without you. Like, no, you really could. It's just funny to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then we have the hair.
Yes.
Yeah, the burnt
Why would Meg let Joe do her hair? Like, I mean,
Right?
maybe because she's the next oldest, but like,
I think she was
why?
really the only option, but like, ugh.
Yeah.
But
As
isn't she-
clumsy and as accident prone as Joe is, it's like, why would you trust her with that?
And what did we
Yeah.
establish? Meg is 17? Is that what it
She's
was?
16.
16?
Joe, Joe's
Yeah,
is
so-
16, and then Beth is like 12.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
so like they're close in age, and she I feel like in a lot of ways she just always expects that Joe will suddenly live up to her expectations.
Like, one day Joe will just wake up and be like, I want to be girly now. I'm going to be perfect.
And she does seem to enjoy the dressing up and stuff. She's just not good at like hairdressery stuff.
I was like, as soon as she's like, no, it's fine. I'm like, oh, she's burning the hair. She's burning the hair.
Yeah. I say that she does seem to enjoy dressing up, but she does also have what they describe as a gentlemanly collar with her dress.
And her
She's like-
gentlemanly mannerisms.
She's like the woman wearing like modern day equivalent, like wearing a tuxedo jacket and cummerbund with a black skirt.
Yeah.
That's an interesting picture.
I've seen it. It's actually not a horrible look, honestly, with the right style skirt. But yeah, she there's a lot of like, you know, what they call tomboyishness, which I think is dumb in a lot of ways, just because like it's all just what society decided the girls should do anyway. But a lot of that in Joe almost feels less like there are some people that it's like, this is what I like better, this is how I like dressing better, this is how I, want to be. And there are other people, like the way that I read it with Joe, it almost seems less like she's like almost trying to be a boy, and more like she does things like wear a gentlemanly collar, not because she wants to be a guy, but because she hates the expectations put on women and the expectations put on her as a girl, and that she's like, fine, if it's the men who can go and do all of these wonderful things, then it would be better to be a man if that means I could do that. Does that make sense? Am I like, I
Yeah,
feel like I'm
yeah.
talking in circles.
It's like the tomboy of the age when girls weren't allowed to wear like pants and t-shirts. Like,
Right. Like she doesn't necessarily feel out of place as a girl so much as she just doesn't like the expectations to do girly things, and like, why can't I do these things just because I'm not a boy? Fine, then I might as well be.
Yeah.
So they yeah, then we have the dance, and the meeting of the Lawrence boy.
Yes.
What'd you think of him?
He was much,
I liked him.
well, I don't want to say different than different in not a bad way, just different as in not what I expected out of him.
Yeah, I mean, you think of all the possible combinations of human, like it's hard to know what to expect of a character with the little bit of there is a boy there and he lives with his grandfather, and that's about all you know about him.
I moved closer so I could see you guys better.
I just feel as though we're growing closer.
Well, Wiggles wants to be full shot here. He keeps blocking my face.
Wiggles is picking up the mantle now that we don't have Erica, and maybe
Well,
Yep.
I did say from the beginning that he might join us for some episodes.
you did, but he
He-
didn't as much until after we didn't have maybe showing up on camera anymore.
That's true. He's just cold. You can't help it. Yeah, now we can both be in a picture.
Give
Happy?
me just a minute.
I'm just like sitting here chatting with Wiggles.
Yeah, I'm just drawing, so
I need 2 hands to cut ribbons, but Wiggles being needy.
yeah, it sounds like Wiggles.
I did promise I'd get the heater down for him, and I haven't yet. So he's a little bit like, Mama, I'm good.
Yeah, Harry's having issues with me working right now, so it's like, Mom, you're not home.
Our dogs have dependency issues. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of dogs do. A lot of dogs have dependency issues and independency issues, and they're not always in different dogs.
Oh,
Such sweeties. So.
I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Oh no. I drew
What?
something and I don't know how I'm gonna do it. When I'm drawing, I'm trying to draw a logo and I can't figure out how to draw something.
For yourself?
Yeah.
I have your logo that I was working on, but never finished it because I hadn't heard back from you on that.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Some
Um,
I got an idea and I was working on.
that's good.
So
I mean, if you have
basic
your own thing, definitely like it'll reflect you better.
falling off the bed. I mean it. No falling off the bed. You're not allowed.
But falling's fun. Got to make sure gravity's working.
at one point I had to grab him because he was trying to curl up on the very edge of the bed, so if he scooted his butt, he would have toppled over.
Mm,
And
poor
I'm like, yeah,
boy.
like I need that.
little
I do
guy.
not need a wiggles on the floor.
I mean, on the floor is fine. Falling there, maybe less so. Um, oh, I forgot where I was.
We were talking about meeting the Lawrence boy.
Yeah. Oh, you were starting to tell me about your opinion of him.
I kind of like how he remembered Joe. Like Joe had made an impression on him.
Do you think he would have with all of the girls, or?
Yeah, I feel like we haven't had a lot of time with Lawrence yet, or Lori. But I
Okay.
do think that he is the kind of person to remember people and kind conversations. I do kind of feel like he is that kind of person.
Thanks to the amount of times that I have watched the 90s movie of this, I cannot think of Marmee without picturing Susan Sarandon, and cannot think of Laurie without picturing Christian Bale,
Right.
and I cannot think of Joe without picturing Winona Ryder. And I picture the other girls also, but there are things in the book I don't think that they were badly played by any means. They were, all the actors in that were excellent in my opinion, but I think that the way that some parts are described in the book, I just think that the Beth and Meg, and in some ways Amy of the book, I just don't see quite the same. I don't really see Joe always necessarily exactly like that either. But I can't picture somebody else, but I can picture them having some different like mannerisms in the characters. I think I've mentioned this too. I know I've mentioned this to Lisa. I can't remember, Karen, if I've told you this or not, but I don't think I've talked about it on the live stream at any rate. But I have, as far as I can tell, kind of like borderline aphantasia, or like mostly aphantasia. I can't really fully see a picture of anything. It's like I know what it looks like, and it took me until within just the past couple of years to realize that people aren't just speaking metaphorically when they talk about being able to see something. So when I say I see them, I am aware of what their faces look like and have snatches of almost an image in my brain. But I know what the things that I'm thinking of would look like in real life, but I can't actually literally see it. I can hear it, and it's the weird thing to me. I don't know why I never questioned the fact that I can actually literally hear somebody's voice in my head, but I can't actually literally see a picture, until I really learned about aphantasia and what it is, and was like, wait, this isn't how everybody imagines things. Okay. Anyway, so I say I see them, and like I do in my way, but I can't really see a picture. But I do actually hear Susan Sarandon's voice, and I hear Winona Ryder's voice, and like Christian Bale, and I hear their voices even more than the others. They're so cemented in my brain in those roles, which makes watching Stranger Things even stranger because like I hear the voice that I can literally hear in my head as Joe all the time anytime I think about Little Women, and that voice is talking about completely unrelated things and like things that definitely did not exist in Little Women. I love Winona Ryder though, and Susan Sarandon. Anywho, on that tangent, so they scoot off to the dance. They meet him. I think it's hilarious that they're each wearing a glove and carrying a glove. Like nobody's gonna think it's weird that you're carrying one glove all night and never put it on, even while dancing.
I think it's funnier that she manages to stay in her sister's glove later.
Oh, well, she did. I was gonna say, but somebody bumped into her, but technically
She tripped. She just said somebody bumped her
Bumped into
to
her.
Lori.
yeah. I was gonna say it just says making a dart at the table. She secured the coffee, which she immediately spilled. And then
Yeah.
it says
She tells
she
Lori
says that somebody bumped into her, which I do think she's lying about, but technically it doesn't specify how she spilled it, so she could have.
I
But
think Joe
knowing
is like,
Joe,
so Joe she's tall, she's got big hands and big feet, and she's not quite sure what to do with her body. Like,
True.
I feel like Joe just like sprouted really quickly and has not quite gotten accustomed to the size of herself. And that's why she's so clumsy all the time.
I think she also doesn't necessarily have good spatial awareness. It's what my 10-year-old does regularly. That he doesn't notice what his own hands are doing, and or what his own body is doing, to the degree that like he'll have an apple core in one hand and will remind him to go throw it away, and he'll get distracted by something, and while focusing on the other thing he'll set it down, and if you're like, I asked you to throw that away, he like looks at his hand like he doesn't even realize that he's not holding it anymore until you point it out. And I think that Joe's like that in a lot of ways. Her mind is so busy on so many different things that she's just not paying attention to the things directly around her.
I like how Lori just, no matter her appearance, he was a gentleman about it. He's like,
yeah.
you want to dance to the song? And she's like, well, I've ruined my dress and I've got the stained glove. And he's like, well, let's go dance in the hall.
And Joe's trying so hard not to use any slang for a while, but that's she's where is it? She says,
pragging for studying or no.
oh, there's somewhere that she's yeah, you're right, yes. Something about pegging away at his studies or at his books, and then she's like, no, I mean studying hard. And but then later when she's just like, oh dear, what a blunderbuss I am, and like it's like she just has figured out by then that he doesn't care, but she was trying so hard.
She was. Gotta give her props.
trying to do well for her sister. Okay, she's trying for her sister.
She tries. I'm not sure that Meg is always entirely convinced that Joe is trying, but Joe's trying. And so yeah, then you notice they say that Meg sprained her ankle, but like the next morning when they get up, like she's fine.
She probably just twisted it.
Yeah. I feel like sprained might be, I don't know if it was used differently at the time or if it was an exaggeration, but I feel like I've seen things from the time that they would be like, well, it's not really a sprain. But I can't remember for certain whether I've seen things like that from the time that were actually from the time or things that were written later and set in the time. So I'm not positive, but I just think it's funny that she like couldn't even walk, and then the next day she's just fine. It's fine, no problems.
She also did it to herself. Like she wore the shoes.
She
They
wore
were too
shoes that were too small.
She did.
But she was the perfect socialite. She smiled and she danced and
That's exactly what she wanted.
Good for her. I have very mixed feelings about that, honestly. But I like things like, balls and like, socialite behavior for fun. I just don't like the judginess if you don't manage it and you have to be exactly like this. Like,
It's like I'm trying to figure out who I can relate her to. It's like she's almost naive about the whole thing. Like,
she really
wants-
is, yeah.
She wants it so bad, but she's almost like naive about it. Like she doesn't know how all the whole story, and I'm trying to figure out who best to relate her to.
Emma.
What?
Emma. Emma's like my favorite story.
Oh, Emma, Jane Austen.
Well, we were talking about the movie with Gwyneth Paltrow, but
But yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah.
my point was that's the Emma you're referencing. I wasn't understanding it for some reason. Like both times that you said Emma, it broke up slightly, and I was like, it was like Emma, and I was like, Emma, what? So anyway, now that we're all on the same page, yeah, I agree. Well, I agree to a degree. I agree that Emma has a lot of similarities in that naivete and expectation that just meeting social expectations will, somehow fix things. But at the same time, I think that it's a little different for Emma in that she doesn't really have anything to fix. She's the like
matchmaker,
richest of all of the rich people in the area. She is one of the few women of the time could be independently wealthy and genuinely did not have to marry for social status or for what the Pod and Prejudice podcast refers to as the economics of dating in Jane Austen. And
I was just talking about her, like at the beginning with Emma. She's very naive and very like perfectionist of social.
Yes.
Because I know Emma grows quite a bit through the entire.
Oh yeah. And I'm not disputing that at all. My only point, and it's not. I don't mean this as like, you're wrong. It's this or whatever, but just for the sake of comparison. My only point is that for Meg, the financial stability that she needs, that she's so convinced will come from just always having the proper behavior is more of a need for her, as opposed to Emma, who was very concerned about behaving properly, but it really wasn't going to ever make a difference to her actual life. She had no real stakes in her life for much of the novel, because she never had to marry to be to have a stable life. She had no real expectations on her, and that's part of what makes it so good that Knightley always has expectations of her, because he's the only one who ever did.
Right.
Right. What?
I said right. I
Yeah.
was agreeing.
Sorry, it sounded like unmute for some reason, and I was like, did I get muted accidentally? What happened?
It may be the way my phone is sitting.
I'm also playing Minecraft while doing other things, and my computer is not always 100% on board with that. I don't have.
So we've only really discussed about one chapter out of the two.
Yeah, well, last time we were done so fast, so I figured we, make it last longer this time.
Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I only actually read the one chapter. But my new job has got me so busy and tired and sore, and I can't focus on reading a page.
All right,
Thankfully, it's
so-
at least easier reading than Lovecraft was.
Yes.
I
feel like sometimes I still need a dictionary because it's old speak, but like.
So to get to chapter 4, then we'll summarize it quickly because we are running.
Well, yeah, let's just I mean, that's basically chapter 3. The only other thing is that because she sprained her ankle, they had to find a way home, and she didn't want her to tell anybody, but Laurie managed to work his way toward finding out anyway. Laurie worked his way toward finding out. Jo worked her way toward being able to excuse herself for telling Laurie, or something like that. But they managed to get her a carriage home, which was good.
Yeah.
And
with Laurie, because he lives like next door. So
yeah. He's like, it's on my way. I'm like, you're literally next door. I don't think that on your way really matters. Like, you can be going from whichever direction, and they'll at least be next door instead of somewhere else that they have to walk from.
Yeah.
And then the next day they woke up cranky. Cranker pants.
Well, Meg had lost quite a few chunks of hair. She had a sore ankle.
I mean, I can't really blame her for that.
Jo
But
ruined her glove again.
What?
And the fact that Jo ruined her glove
again.
It's a glove. I know, his gloves were a much bigger deal at the time. The prim and proper type of gloves, and of course anything prim and proper is going to be a bigger deal to Meg, but it does not stop me from sitting there going, oh my gosh, it's a glove. They were all cranky. Like, I mean, it definitely had a, what now we would refer to as like a Monday vibe. But it makes sense that it would have that kind of vibe, like the day after all of the festivities and holiday stuff was over, and they just don't, people often have that kind of like depression set in after a big event, or even during it, because you have like all of this anticipation and expectations that and then like it's done, and like, now what are we doing? So they definitely had some blasé setting in, but I found it surprising that it was Jo, not Beth or Meg, who was really I've forgotten this, but she was the one who was really trying to like build everybody back up and help everybody kind of form a better mood, and pointing out that they should be more grateful and kinder than they were being. So good on Joe. And then we have Aunt March. I kind of love all the descriptions of Aunt March. I like, we would say aunt, and I feel like they would say aunt because they were from New England at the time, but in the movie they always call her Aunt March, so that's her name cemented in my brain. I just have to point that part out. But yeah, they the descriptions of Aunt March just delight me. She's just such a crotchety old lady.
She doesn't want to admit she's wrong.
What?
What?
She's not wrong. She's never wrong.
Well,
What are you talking
not
about?
necessarily wrong, but like she doesn't approve of Joe's taste of books, and then she's like, here's a snippet, and she's like, go on, go on.
Yep.
She's like,
So what
keep reading.
basically happens in book 4? Because
So I think chapter 4 is really mostly to like,
Mommy, do you remember all the words to the book with no pictures?
is more like to give us more background on the characters as well as kind of what they go through.
Yeah.
Because in the first chapter it mentions that they all have certain things they do, and so in this one, could you stop making a mess? Thank you.
Oh, our kids.
Mine's a four-legged one, but yes.
I was gonna say yours is a little furrier than mine, but
My poor babies are behaving, so don't look at me.
that's good.
Like the kids are talking about, the two younger ones talk about school and classmates and things like that. So, and you learn more about Joe being the caretaker to Aunt Marge, and oh geez, I forget what Meg does. She teaches the other kids, but she had her own story. I can't remember her story for the life of me.
Yeah, I told you I read it, but like the second half of the chapter, like I forgot what I had read out.
I know, as I was reading it, I was like, wait, what did I just read? I was rereading phrases like several times. Like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, and I wasn't even lost. I'm just, having a weekend. I was struggling to
forget
focus.
or worry that I forgot something.
But oh, Beth, I love all the descriptions of Beth too.
Beth,
love
I
Beth.
love so much. Like, we barely met her, and I love her so much.
But it did explain one thing that we had talked about a little bit last week. That it explained in the further descriptions of the girls here was that remember we were like, shouldn't Beth be in school too? And it explains why she's not, because she's so shy that it was like torture for her. Which, same, but I wasn't allowed to not go to school. And clearly I'm less shy now than I was. I was so
Like, yeah, you'll
painfully
be
shy as a
fine. Throw you to
child.
the wolves.
What?
They were like, yeah, you'll be fine. Throw you to the wolves.
I mean, my mother taught in my elementary school, so like homeschooling wasn't a thing that was going to happen. She was busy being at school. I had a first grade teacher, very, very dear woman, loved her pieces, did not seem to fully comprehend shyness as such. Or I don't know, she thought that like being pleasant enough about it would like make the shyness go away, but it felt like it just drew more attention to me and I just wanted to shrink away and hide. And so she was I can't remember what I was starting to say. Oh, she like, you know, somebody was out sick and it'd be like, oh, I'm so happy you're back. I hope you're feeling better, like loud enough for the whole class to hear. And so I have distinct memories of raising my hand and very quietly whispering to her, can I go to the bathroom? And she very loudly, yes, of course you can go to the bathroom. And
I always hated that. Like you're
I
trying
would-
to be discreet and the teacher
right?
just like loud.
and I would slink. I went and slinked. I don't know. Made my way out of the classroom with as little attention as I could manage after that, and made my way to the bathroom and threw up in the toilet and went back to class and didn't tell anybody I was sick because it was at least less embarrassing to deal with the attention on going to the bathroom than to deal with the bigger, how are you? Are you all better? Attention of getting back to class after having been sick. So I did not miss starting from there, did not miss a day of school until I managed to work up the courage to admit to being sick about halfway through 5th grade. Because I just didn't want the attention of being sick. And the few times that I was sick without missing school, but just like couldn't manage to do something at the house or at my house or something. And one of my sisters would insist that I was just doing it for attention. I was just pretending to be sick for attention. And like all I wanted was for them to stop paying attention. Joys of a big family. So yeah, they have their little excuse me, conversation as they sit sewing that evening and talking about their day.
And then their mom tells a story, and I love that so much.
Yeah. Do you want to recap it since I think you have the best grasp on what we read of the three of us right now?
All right, so they first ask her mom about their mom about her day. If I can get the right pronouns here. And so she tells about this warrior because she was also feeling a little bit selfish like them, and just kind of, I like how everything kind of like had a story of a different perspective. But so she's like, she met this man who had 4 kids and how she should remember how lucky she is that, you know, that they have what they do have, because it could be worse. I like that. And then they're like, well, tell another one, because what kid doesn't want to hear a story from their mother?
Right.
And she's kind of makes up this old-timey magical story about literally what had just happened. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
So like talking about how they all wanted more. And so they went to go find the witch, the mother, the sorceress.
I love how much they love their mother. It's delightful.
It's written through like it. I like how it's ingrained in their actions in the story, like how much they care for their mother. They don't have to say it, and she doesn't have to write it out blank. Like it's in the little things they do, the way they pay attention to her, the way they buy their Christmas stuff for her, and all this stuff.
Right. It's very sweet. And then there's what's the line?
not gonna lie, guys, I am struggling to keep my eyes awake over here. I'm sure it's obvious, but like,
Well, we
I'm
got some more
struggling.
minutes.
Ugh.
But yeah,
Here
I
it
just
is. Now, Marmy, that is very cunning of you to turn our own stories against us and give us a sermon instead of a romance.
right, and then and then I think Joe goes on to say something that their father would have done.
Beth says.
Beth does. Okay.
I
couldn't
only
remember
know
which
that
one.
because I'm looking right at it right now. Um, yep, it's very sweet. Well, since I was crafting in Minecraft instead of IRL, I'm going to.
This is what I created. This is my idea for a logo. I like
You
it.
like it? All right, I'm going to show you my epic castle I'm working on. Just a second here.
That wasn't backwards for you guys, right? Like this is
Nope.
backwards for me. So
Nope, it wasn't backwards. Assuming that the words read left to right, it wasn't backwards.
the picture's on the left.
All right, let me see. Where? Oh, there it is. Share screen. Minecraft. All right, can you see my Minecraft screen?
Yes.
All right, so
Maybe
it's, of
stop
course,
laughing
it's,
at me.
I was going to say, of course, it's nighttime right now in my Minecraft world, and I don't want to change it to daytime because it reverts back to day one when you do that.
Oh, lovely.
But this is my epic castle I'm working on.
I still just have a black screen.
So
I can't even see
this
anything Minecraft. It's just my phone. Please, can you see
possibly,
anything?
if you go back to our video on YouTube after the stream fully uploads, you can probably see it there later also. This is the entryway, and the beginning of the stairs is going to be up on that side also. And this will be the sculpture art gallery, and there's an office slash receiving room for the steward over there. And this is the painting art gallery, beginnings of. And the library, which is going to be a library to rival the Beauty and the Beast library. And in here is the throne room. I'm making it with my 10-year-old, so that's his throne and that's my throne. And
I
my
learned a cool
courtyard.
trick with bookshelves. If you put looms sideways, they kind of look like empty shelves. So like,
Interesting.
instead of just having like every shelf full of books, to add a little bit of like texture and stuff, you can add a couple of empty shelves by using sideways looms.
I'm going to go up here. This is my stairway over the dining room, the grand dining hall. And then it'll be possible to enter from there, but I don't have a stairway yet for the ballroom. And then over here, there's a music room and a, let me see, what's this one? Lesser dining hall, and then the music room, and then a breakfast parlor. And then on the second floor will be the king and queen's offices and some other like lesser used rooms, and then everybody's various suites and such up above that. And then down here, I have hallways for servants, but the doors are going to be hidden behind banners.
Ooh.
And excuse me, so the servants will be able to travel to each of the rooms through their own corridors. And
If you
then
have signposts on the wall, you can actually use pictures instead.
on what? Oh, yeah, I probably will for some of them, come to think of it, but I do want to have a lot of banners placed around though. And then this is the downstairs. Over there are the servants' quarters. And the kitchen's in here, and the rest of it I don't have divvied up yet. But it's essentially going to be like a 5-story castle.
Nice.
Then we have the towers, and we're going to put other things. What's that called? We're going to put soldiers' barracks in, around, and under the towers, and then these are our animals right now before we have somewhere better to keep them. He's been building a whole farm down there, but we're going to have houses all around the side of the castle, like noblemen and such, and then a double wall down around the base with a moat. It is a huge epic endeavor, which is a nice way to work on stuff when my mental health is not ready for doing other things, or I just need a break, or, you know, just doing something with my son. The hallway. Anywho, so I am going to figure out where Zoom went.
So Lisa, what did you do for your craft?
I cut ribbon.
For your project?
Yes, because I'm also the procrastinator.
Yes, me and Lisa have to mail out the last of our foundation stuff this week.
All right.
She's hoping to do so tomorrow. I'm hoping to do so on Thursday.
How do I make this go back to my, there we go. Okay. So for next time, we'll read chapters 5 and 6, being neighborly, and Beth finds the palace beautiful.
Nice.
And hopefully I'll be able to actually find my pattern for my shawl and muster some initiative to work on stuff sometime in the next 2 weeks.
Good luck.
Thanks.
I'm hoping I don't die from my new job in the next 2 weeks. So
You are
You got
forbidden.
this.
Death is unacceptable. All right. Everybody say bye.